Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah Olson and I live in Minnesota with my husband and our 3 children, Sophie, Soren, and Svea. I'm an elementary teacher turned stay-at-home homeschooling mom. I homeschool our 2 oldest children, and we also have a busy little baby crawling around our feet most of the day too. And I love sharing about motherhood, homemaking, and homeschooling. I'm passionate about being intentional in our motherhood journeys, and I hope that today's video is helpful for you. Today we are talking about how to hit the reset button on a bad day. For me, the word bad is in quotation marks. I'll start off with a little note about this. I am hesitant, first of all, to call or label any day a bad day. This is because I know that automatically labeling a day or calling a day a bad day, especially earlier in the day, automatically sets the tone or the mood for the rest of the day. It really affects your mood, and it affects just your approach to the rest of the day to immediately call it a bad day. So I guess this video could also be called how to hit the reset button on a more chaotic day or an unexpected day or a bumpy day. My first tip is to turn on some mood lifting music. And for me, that's my Spotify playlist called Peaceful Evening. And spoiler alert, I guess, it doesn't have to be just for evenings. I turn on that Peaceful Evening playlist all the time. I just labeled it that a long time ago. Sometimes I won't even realize I've been practically holding my breath all morning until I turn on music, or I remember to turn on some music. And it affects the kids as well. My children love music. I think this is true for most anyone. Music is good for everyone, so definitely remember to turn on some music that will uplift you and that will help your mood. My second tip is to pray. When we pray, we are turning our attention away from ourselves and our circumstances over onto the one who is truly in charge and who truly understands and loves us. When I take the time to pray aloud for Sophie, Soren, Svea, or for my husband, it truly does make a difference because we serve a God who does act on our behalf and who does listen to our prayers. In addition to that, it also helps to reset my attitude and it changes my perspective. If I am only thinking about myself and my circumstances, my world tends to get pretty small and I tend to get more negative and inward focused, of course. And if I am praying, I am placing my anxieties, cares, burdens on God who can handle it and who is in charge. Besides the fact that we serve a God who lovingly acts on our behalf and who cares for us, I have found that praying resets my attitude because it reminds me what is truly important, and that is Christ. It is not the diaper blowout that happened or the schedule that is out of whack or even my to-do list. It is Jesus, and that really is such a huge mindset shift for me, so definitely I would recommend praying. And if you're not familiar with praying, then just start to talk to God and ask Him to work in your life. My next tip is to whip up a hot drink. I'm a huge fan of small little rituals. I think it's the little habits throughout the day that can really add up to a cozy or peaceful or productive lifestyle. But something about a hot drink just really helps you to take that deep breath, and it just brings the tension down and helps you to feel more peaceful. I would say this works regardless of the season. To whip up a little hot drink is such a nice ritual. I think there's a good reason why in so many cultures having a hot drink or having some hot tea is just part of a daily ritual or routine. I feel like as soon as I take that first sip, my body relaxes and I feel like my mind just gets a little chance to breathe. And it's wonderful to focus on something small and comforting in the midst of a perhaps chaotic or crazy day. My next tip is to make sure you have eaten. I know this sounds funny, but it is hugely important. When I first became a stay-at-home mom, I went from a more rigid elementary teacher structured lifestyle. So I had a set exact time to eat lunch every day, a certain amount of food to get consumed in a certain amount of time, to not really having a schedule or creating my own. And while freedom is so inviting and exciting when you are a new stay-at-home mom, it can also be this open-ended, I never quite eat a full meal situation. I struggled with this and I would find myself melting by the time it was 12:30 because maybe I had only kind of snacked throughout the morning or had a very light lunch of a cheese stick and an apple, who knows. I know that your baby's needs are utmost or are very important, but you also, mama, need to prioritize yourself and your sustenance. So I kind of learned the hard way. I struggled with anxiety stuff when I was not hydrating and not feeding myself well. It was not on purpose. It was honestly just because I was so busy and so kind of flexible with my schedule. I was not focusing on truly having 3 solid round meals a day. Prioritizing both the baby's or your children's sustenance and mama's sustenance is very important. The second time around, and then this third time around with our third child, it has gotten easier for me, and I know that I also need to make sure I have eaten. If you are diligent about fueling yourself, fueling your body well, then you will find you are more emotionally stable and emotionally ready, mentally prepared for whatever the day has for you. I would also add that hydration is hugely important. Please do not forget hydration in the grand scheme of things as well. I think I was pretty dehydrated for much of my first few years of motherhood, and I have just more recently in the past couple years gotten better at hydrating. It makes a big difference regardless of if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, or anything. You need to hydrate well. For me, I love using this product called Element. I think it's pronounced Element. It's LMNT. I will link that down below. I like to have a big thermos of that every day alongside other times when I am also drinking. I have a nighttime hydration drink I like to make, and I have a blog post with that recipe, which I can also link down below. But honestly, it's just drinking water that is most important. My next tip is to straighten up what you can, tidy up what you can in your house. And I know that on a more chaotic or crazy feeling day, or a day you're feeling overwhelmed, this isn't always possible. So I personally like to focus on 2 main areas, my living room and my kitchen. Also, you want to make sure that your bed is cleared off from laundry. Of course, you want somewhere to sleep, but you definitely can focus on living room and kitchen first, and you'll find that you can breathe a lot more easily and your day feels a lot less overwhelming if you have really attacked or conquered those 2 main areas of your house. I have found that if the morning felt chaotic or just plain messy, if I conquer the kitchen and I conquer the living room mess and just kind of tidy up whatever I can or get those dishes done, dishes that are sitting in the sink, at least get the dishwasher running, then I feel like that sets the stage for a more smooth or more productive rest of the morning or rest of the day. My next tip for resetting a more difficult day is to reevaluate and pare down your priorities for the day. This means looking at your to-do list and paring it down to truly what the essentials are. Now, I used to be the queen of overly ambitious to-do lists. Even before I had kids, my to-do list had like 20 items per day, and that just sets yourself up for discouragement and exhaustion, and also sets yourself up for failure because you are not probably able to get those items all done, especially if you have little kids around. So I recommend just looking at the essentials. That means maybe looking at 1 item you can do in the morning alongside your kids. Look at 1 item you can do during nap time or quiet time. For our family, we have quiet time for an hour or 2 every afternoon, which has been a wonderful routine for us. And maybe 1 item you can do after the kids are in bed. This means that you've got these mini anchors of your day. I talk more about anchors in my course, the Present Mama Playbook. But when you have certain anchors in your day that you can rely on to get things done, that can help. What I'm talking about here especially is just looking at your to-do list or just writing down maybe 3 main items that you really must get done or you really feel you should get done to get a better grip or handle on your day. And then just do those 3 items and call it good. You can always reevaluate again the next day when it's a little less chaotic or crazy. Also, don't be afraid to pivot. For instance, if you had on your to-do list that you wanted to get to the post office this morning by 11:30, we used to live in a town where the post office closed at 11:30 a.m. So we wanted to get that done, but maybe your morning got way too chaotic and you just know you can't pull off. You don't want to leave the house. Definitely pivot by substituting in another to-do list item. Maybe you had vacuuming kind of in the back of your mind for doing later this week, but that's something you could do today. So maybe vacuuming goes into today's to-do list and you push post office to the next day. So don't be afraid to pivot or substitute some of those to-do list items. We adore books in our family, like I'm sure many families do, and I didn't want to forget to mention that books are they're a fabulous reset button for your day. And books can be utilized as a reset button at any time of the day, not strictly at nap time or just like bedtime, reading books before bed with your children. You can use books at any difficult time of the day. I have found it's something that works well for me as a mom, and it's something my own mom used to do it when I was really little. If I was having a rougher day or just a more difficult moment, we would snuggle up on the couch and read a book. And you can do it at the most random times of the day. I feel like I'm emphasizing that a lot, but I just want you to know that you can just pull out a book and sit on the couch or sit on the floor with your child and read a book. And it is almost magical how much of a reset button a book can be for us as parents reading it out loud, but also for our kids. So do not forget the power of reading a book out loud to your children. My next tip is to list 15 things you are thankful for. And practicing gratitude is such an important skill to have. And honestly, it's something that helps me fall asleep at night too, on nights where I feel more restless. Listing off just mentally 15 things I'm grateful for has worked well too. But it is such a wonderful way to adjust your attitude or to reset your day, to just notice the tiny little things. If it's a morning dove you hear outside, if it's the way the sunlight is slanting in through the window, there are so many cute little things to look for. Perhaps it's how your son likes to hold your hand as you read a book to him, or the way your daughter giggles. There are so many little things to watch for, and I think it's a wonderful, effective strategy to really look for the details in your day that you can be thankful for. I like to think about the big things I'm grateful for too. So for instance, we had a miscarriage before our first child, before we had Sophie. And that was, of course, devastating and a very hard time for us. I have a blog post all about that, about fighting fear in pregnancy after miscarriage. If that's something that you or someone you know has been affected by, I am so sorry. I can link that blog post down below for you. But to think about the big things we're thankful for, it really helps to put things in perspective during the hard days. So on those days when maybe I was having a harder morning with Sophie when she was really little, or there was a diaper situation, or just I felt overwhelmed by the house, all sorts of things as I was gaining my footing in motherhood, it helped me to remember that I serve a God who answers prayers, a God who keeps his promises, and I have so much to be thankful for. Sophie was a gift, and it is a gift that we have our children. And when we think about the gift that our kids are, it really puts into perspective all the messes and little nuances of the day that can really throw us off kilter. So suddenly a diaper explosion or a grumpy mama morning, we all have grumpy mama mornings, I think, with our own attitude, those things don't seem like as big of a deal. And I just want to encourage you to give weight to the good things. My next tip is to tell someone about it. If you're having a rough day, sometimes it just plain helps to have someone to share that with, someone to laugh, hopefully, about it with. And oftentimes this is my husband. I can text him and fill him in on whatever shenanigans have been happening, or funny quotes, or just plain the crazy, outrageous situations that have happened. Now, this isn't really an encouragement for us to vent too much or rant too much where we're becoming very negative, because that's not focusing on the good things and what we're grateful for. But sometimes it's just such a ridiculous situation that you have to laugh about it. You want to exchange maybe a goofy motherhood story with your friends or your husband. So maybe you need to just send a quick text and say, has this ever happened to you, to your friend, or just tell your husband what goofy things have been happening. For me, I found that helps to really add a little humor to it. And of course, this is not at the expense of respecting my children or turning really negative, but I wanted to encourage you to maybe just share it with someone, tell someone about it, call your mom, call your husband, and just share in that journey together. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful or if you enjoyed it, and make sure you subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. If you want some additional content that you can't always get here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to my email list, and you can also follow along with me over on Instagram, where I share lots of Instagram stories, usually every day. If you love intentional strategies and mindset shifts and even thoughts about how to run your home more smoothly, then be sure to join the waitlist for my online motherhood course. It's called the Present Mama Playbook. It's run a couple sessions and it's currently closed for enrollment, but I want you to be one of the first ones to know when it is open for enrollment again. So be sure to join that waitlist down in the description box below. Thank you again for watching. I hope you are having a good day, and if not, I hope you know how to reset that day, and I will see you in my next one.
yesterday there was some